Let me tell you something powerful. Your life changes the moment you decide to show up like the person you've always wanted to become. Not tomorrow, not when you have more money, more time, or more approval, but right now. Because every second you hesitate to act like the best version of yourself, you're training your brain to settle for average. The truth is, you don't become the best by waiting, you become the best by behaving as if you already are. Confidence isn't something you earn after success, it's the weapon you use to create success. So today, I'm not asking you to fake it, I'm asking you to embody it, walk like it, talk like it, think like it, because the world doesn't respond to your potential, it responds to your presence. You've been playing small long enough, the clock is ticking, and life rewards those who move with certainty. So act as if you are the best, until it's no longer an act. Every great moment of transformation begins with presence, that invisible energy you bring before you say a single word. People feel who you are before they hear who you are. The way you walk in, the way your eyes connect, the way your shoulders carry the weight of your confidence. It all tells a story. And that story either commands respect or asks for permission. You can't wait until you're inside the room to decide who you're going to be. You must own the room before you even enter it. Most people underestimate the power of pre-decided energy. They enter situations uncertain, hoping to be accepted, hoping to be seen. But the ones who truly lead, both men and women, decide who they are before the world tells them who to be. That's the difference between influence and invisibility. When a man walks into a boardroom with grounded certainty, he doesn't dominate with arrogance, he dominates with alignment. And when a woman enters that same space with unshakable presence, she doesn't compete, she commands. That's the psychology of ownership. Knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to prove it. Your energy is your announcement to the world. Long before you speak, people have already made assumptions based on what they feel from you. Confidence isn't loud, it's consistent. It's the quiet power of someone who's already rehearsed success in their mind and decided that uncertainty will not dictate their behavior. Men tend to equate confidence with control, the desire to dominate the environment. Women often express it through composure, mastering emotional energy while staying authentic. Both are right, but both must remember presence is not about gender, it's about certainty. You can't own the room when your inner dialogue is working against you. The words you whisper to yourself before you step in are shaping your external results. If your thoughts say, I hope they're like me, you're already giving away your power. But when your thoughts declare, they're about to meet the best version of me, your physiology changes, your body straightens, your breathing deepens, your voice stabilizes, because your mind has chosen to lead instead of follow. The internal narrative always wins the external game. Owning the room starts before you arrive. It begins when you visualize success so clearly that your nervous system starts believing it's real. The human brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and experience. It responds to emotion, not logic. That's why elite performers rehearse victory mentally long before the actual moment. When you embody that energy, you shift from hoping to happening. You stop reacting to your environment and start creating it. So before the next meeting, the next stage, the next conversation that matters, stop, take a breath, stand tall, picture yourself radiating certainty. Because when you walk in with presence, when your energy speaks louder than your words, you no longer need to prove you're the best. Everything in your life right now, your relationships, your health, your finances, your level of happiness is a reflection of one thing, your standards. Not your dreams, not your desires, not your goals, but what you've decided is non-negotiable. Your standards are the invisible rules that shape your reality. They dictate what you tolerate, what you chase, and what you expect from yourself and the world around you. The moment you raise them, your entire life shifts, because life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you're willing to demand of yourself. Most people don't lack potential, they lack standards that match their potential. They live in a cycle of good enough, convincing themselves that comfort is success. But mediocrity is just the slow death of ambition disguised as peace. Men and women both fall into this trap. Men often lower their standards to protect their ego, to avoid the pain of failure. Women, on the other hand, often lower theirs to maintain harmony, to avoid judgment or rejection. But the truth is, when you lower your standards to fit into someone else's comfort zone, you sacrifice the greatness that was designed to set you apart. Every powerful transformation begins when you decide, I will no longer accept this as my normal. That's the line where average ends and excellence begins. It's not about being perfect. It's about refusing to live beneath your potential. High standards aren't about arrogance. They're about alignment. They're a declaration that says, I know who I am and I will not settle for less. When a man raises his standard, he becomes disciplined. He stops chasing validation and starts chasing mastery. When a woman raises her, she becomes magnetic. She stops seeking approval and starts embodying self-worth. Your standards are not just about what you want. They're about what you refuse to tolerate. Every time you say, it's fine, when you know it's not, you teach your subconscious to accept less. Every time you make excuses for why you can't change, you reinforce the belief that you don't deserve more. And that belief quietly builds your entire reality. The standards you set in private define the confidence you carry in public. If you want to act as if you're the best, you must first expect from yourself what the best would never compromise on. Raising your standards requires courage because it forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you could be. That gap is uncomfortable. It exposes every excuse, every fear, every limitation you've built to protect yourself from growth. Men often confront this through achievement by proving their worth through results. Women often face it through identity by reclaiming their sense of self beyond others' expectations. But both must understand high standards are not a burden. They're a boundary. They protect your energy, your integrity, and your destiny from anything that would pull you backward. The psychology of standards is built on repetition and reinforcement. What you repeatedly allow becomes your emotional home. If you tolerate chaos, you'll find comfort in it. If you normalize disappointment, you'll unconsciously recreate it. But if you normalize excellence, your mind, body, and spirit will rise to meet it. The human nervous system is designed to adapt. Once you decide that a higher level is your new baseline, everything in you begins to adjust to make it true. You start speaking differently, dressing differently, thinking differently. You begin to move through life not as someone trying to be their best, but as someone who simply refuses to be anything less. Raising your standards isn't about demanding perfection from the world. It's about demanding precision from yourself. It's about holding yourself accountable when no one is watching. It's about being brutally honest with what you've allowed and fiercely committed to what you will allow next. Because when you shift your standards, you don't just change your outcomes. You change your identity. You begin to live from a place of power, not pressure. You no longer act like the best. You start becoming it, one uncompromising decision at a time. Everything you want in life is influenced by one invisible force, energy. It's the currency, performance, the fuel of confidence, the foundation of influence. Energy is everything because without it, your talent means nothing, your knowledge means little, and your intention has no direction. Every person who has ever inspired, led, or transformed others mastered one skill above all. They learned to command their energy. Because if you can't control your own state, the world will control it for you. The truth is, your energy announces you before your words ever do. People don't respond to what you say, they respond to what they feel from you. You've met someone who walks into a room and instantly lifts it, right? Their posture, their presence, their tone, it shifts the entire atmosphere. That's not luck or charisma, that's conscious energy management. On the other hand, someone can have all the right words but drain everyone around them because their energy carries insecurity, tension, or exhaustion. Your energy either attracts opportunities or repels them. And the difference lies in how deliberately you command it. Men often confuse intensity with power, believing that being loud or forceful equals strength. But real masculine energy isn't about dominance, it's about direction. It's grounded, intentional, and unshakable. It leads with certainty, not noise, Werman. On the other hand, often underestimate the power of their energetic influence, especially in environments that reward logic over intuition. But feminine energy, when fully expressed, can transform any space. It brings flow, empathy, and magnetic confidence. Both energies are essential, and both need to be mastered, not muted. When men and women learn to balance intensity with presence and power with calm, they become unstoppable forces of creation. You command your energy by mastering your state. Your state is a combination of your physiology, focus, and language. Change any one of these, and your energy shifts instantly. If you slump your shoulders, breathe shallowly, and think about what's wrong, you'll feel powerless. But if you stand tall, breathe deeply, and focus on what's possible, your energy will ignite. This isn't theory, it's biology. Your body and mind are in constant communication, and the one you command most consistently determines your emotional destiny. The fastest way to change how you feel is to move differently. Most people try to think their way into confidence instead of moving their way into it. You can't intellectualize energy, you have to generate it. When you move with purpose, your brain releases chemicals that signal strength, alertness, and confidence. That's why world-class performers, athletes, and leaders prepare their bodies before stepping into important moments. They understand that motion creates emotion. Men gain power through engagement and challenge. Women gain it through connection and alignment. But both are built on the same principle: your energy must be intentional, not reactive. Commanding energy also means protecting it. You can't show up powerfully if you're constantly drained by toxic people, negative thoughts, or unproductive habits. Energy leaks through overthinking, comparison, and emotional clutter. The key is awareness, knowing what fuels you and what depletes you. For men, that might mean redefining success to include rest, reflection, and emotional honesty. For women, it might mean releasing the pressure to please and choosing authenticity over perfection. Commanding energy doesn't mean being on all the time. It means knowing when to recharge, when to push, and when to simply be. The level of energy you bring determines the level of life you experience. When you walk into a room full of uncertainty, your energy becomes the thermostat. It sets the temperature for everyone else. When you radiate strength, people feel safe. When you radiate passion, people feel inspired. When you radiate peace, people feel grounded. Energy isn't just something you have, it's something you create and project. And the moment you decide to command it instead of react to it, the world begins to respond to you differently. Every breakthrough in life begins with identity, not with strategy. People spend their entire lives chasing results. The money, the recognition, the body, the relationship, but they forget the foundation that creates all of it, who they believe they are. You will never outperform your identity. You might get short-term wins through effort or luck, but if deep down you don't see yourself as the kind of person who deserves or sustains success, you'll sabotage it. Results are reflections, not origins. They mirror the identity you've already chosen consciously or unconsciously. The human brain is wired to stay consistent with its identity. That's why people who lose weight often gain it back, why someone who starts a business may self-sabotage just before it grows, and why so many settle back into comfort after a big win. It's not about capability, it's about congruence. Your mind will always fight to make your external world match your internal self-image. If you see yourself as average, no amount of temporary success will convince you otherwise for long. The key is to shift from, I want to achieve this, to, I am the kind of person who does this. Because when your identity changes, your actions become automatic. For men, identity often gets tied to achievement, what they do, what they earn, what they conquer. That mindset can fuel progress, But it can also imprison them. When a man's identity is built entirely on performance, failure feels like death. He stops taking risks because every loss feels personal. The truth is, identity must be bigger than outcome. A strong man doesn't just identify as a winner, he identifies as a leader, as someone who grows regardless of the result. That shift creates emotional freedom, the ability to keep moving even when things don't go as planned. When identity is built on growth instead of perfection, results become inevitable. For women, identity often becomes entangled with roles, being the nurturer, the supporter, the one who keeps everything together. While that gives strength, it can also create limitation. Many women shrink their own identity to fit the expectations of others, forgetting that their power comes not from pleasing, but from presence. When a woman steps into her identity as a creator, a force, a leader, not in comparison to anyone else, but in alignment with her truth, she unlocks an energy that transforms not just her own life, but everyone around her. Identity is not what you've been told to be, it's what you decide to embody fully and unapologetically. Your results will always rise or fall to the level of your identity. You can set goals all day long, but if they don't align with who you believe you are, your mind will find ways to sabotage the outcome. This is why motivation fades. It's like trying to run on empty willpower while your subconscious is pulling the brakes. The most effective transformation doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from becoming someone new. When your identity says, this is just who I am now, consistency becomes effortless. You don't try to go to the gym, you're an athlete. You don't try to lead, you're a leader. You don't try to succeed, you're the kind of person who succeeds. The process of changing identity begins with awareness. Ask yourself not what you want, but who you need to become to create it. Most people think change starts with action, but true change starts with ownership. You have to take responsibility for the story you've been telling yourself. Every time you say, I'm not that type of person, you're programming your mind to limit your future. Identity isn't fixed, it's built moment by moment through repetition and belief. If you want to shift it, start by acting as if. Act as if you already are that confident, disciplined, unstoppable version of you. The brain begins to rewire when behavior aligns with vision. Your identity sets the standard for your emotions, your discipline, and your resilience. If you identify as someone who's powerful, your mind looks for solutions. If you identify as a victim, it looks for problems. Identity determines perception, and perception shapes behavior. This is the psychology of transformation. Every great man or woman who has left an imprint on history began by deciding who they were long before the world saw proof. They didn't wait for results to validate them. They created results that reflected their certainty. The moment you shift your identity, your energy, focus, and habits start to align. You stop chasing success and start embodying it. You stop waiting for permission and start taking ownership. This is how true transformation happens, not by achieving more, but by becoming more. When your identity leads, results follow naturally. Because the external world has no choice but to reflect the internal standard you live by, and the person you decide to be every single day becomes the foundation of everything you create. Every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary has faced self-doubt. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a signal of growth. Self-doubt shows up when you're standing on the edge of expansion, when your mind senses you're about to break through the limits of who you used to be. The problem isn't doubt itself, the problem is what you do with it. Most people let doubt silence them, shrink them, or stall them. But those who rise turn that doubt into a war cry, a declaration that says, watch me prove myself wrong. Your mind has two voices, one that builds you and one that betrays you. That second voice, the one that whispers, you're not enough or you might fail, isn't your enemy, it's your untrained protector. It's trying to keep you safe by avoiding risk, rejection, or pain. But the safest place in the world is also the least alive. Growth and certainty don't coexist. So if you're feeling doubt, it means you're stretching into a version of yourself you haven't met yet. That's the invitation to stop negotiating with fear and start leading it. Men often experience self-doubt as frustration or anger. They mask it by becoming overly competitive, detached, or controlling. Because for many men, doubt feels like weakness, and weakness is unacceptable. But that mindset traps them in silence. When a man learns to face doubt head-on and turn it into fuel, he transforms pressure into power. He stops running from uncertainty and starts commanding it. His confidence no longer comes from pretending he has it all figured out. It comes from knowing he'll adapt no matter what. Women often experience self-doubt differently. It hides behind overthinking, perfectionism, or the fear of being too much or not enough. They question their value, their voice, their worthiness to lead. But the most powerful women aren't the ones who never doubt. They're the ones who refuse to let doubt decide their direction. When a woman channels her uncertainty into determination, she becomes unstoppable. She no longer asks, can I do this? She declares, I'll do it anyway. That's where her true confidence is born, not from the absence of fear, but from mastery over it. The key is to understand that self-doubt is energy, and energy can be redirected. When you feel that inner resistance, that tightness in your chest, that hesitation before taking action, that's raw power waiting to be claimed. Most people misinterpret it as a stop sign, but it's really a green light. It's your body's way of saying, this matters. You can either let that energy collapse you, or you can channel it into forward motion. The greatest breakthroughs happen when you stop trying to avoid the feeling and start using it as momentum. Every time you face doubt and move anyway, you're training your nervous system for confidence. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. Confidence is the memory of action, proof that you can handle what you once thought you couldn't. You build it repetition by repetition, decision by decision. When you take action in the face of doubt, something powerful happens inside you, your identity shifts. You begin to see yourself not as someone who tries to be confident, but as someone who acts confidently even when it's uncomfortable. Your inner dialogue determines whether doubt destroys you or drives you. You can say, I don't know if I can do this, or you can say, I'm about to find out. The second phrase flips the script. It turns uncertainty into curiosity and fear into fire. This is how warriors are made. They don't suppress their doubt. They harness it. They take that inner resistance and turn it into rhythm. They let their heart race, their breath deepen, and their mind focus not on what could go wrong, but on what they refuse to leave undone. Turning self-doubt into a war cry means transforming hesitation into hunger. It means using the moments that scare you most as reminders that you're alive and evolving. Every doubt is a doorway. Behind it lies the version of you that no longer needs reassurance. You reach that version not by waiting for confidence, but by declaring that you're already worthy of the next level. Because the truth is, the battle is never between you and the world. It's between who you are and who you're afraid to become. And when you face that fear and roar back with everything you have, you stop being controlled by doubt and start commanding destiny itself. Every day you wake up, you're rating a piece of your legacy, whether you realize it or not. Every decision, every word, every moment of effort becomes part of the story the world will remember you by. Most people drift through their days waiting for the right time to start living fully, but the truth is there is no right time, there's only right now. If you want to live a life that matters, you have to live today like your legacy depends on it, because it does. The future is built in the present, and the way you show up right now is shaping everything that comes next. The problem is that too many people act like they have unlimited time. They carry dreams like distant promises and convince themselves that someday they'll act. But someday is a myth. It's the graveyard of greatness. Every moment you waste waiting for perfect conditions, you're quietly erasing the impact you were born to make. Living like your legacy depends on today means bringing urgency back into your life. Not panic, but purpose. It means treating every sunrise as a reminder that you're being given another chance to become the person you were meant to be. For men, legacy often becomes intertwined with achievement. They measure their worth by what they build, provide, or conquer. That drive can create massive success, but it can also create emptiness when it's disconnected from meaning. Legacy isn't just about what you accomplish, it's about who you become in the process. It's about the integrity behind your actions, the people you lift, and the example you set when no one's watching. A man who lives with intention understands that power without purpose is wasted energy. He doesn't just want to win, he wants his wins to matter. For women, legacy often carries emotional depth. It's found in the lives they touch, the values they pass on, and the strength they show through compassion. But too often, women put everyone else's legacy before their own. They pour out until they're empty, forgetting that their story, their voice, and their dreams are just as vital. Living like your legacy depends on today means claiming your own stage, your own message, your own light, not someday when it's convenient, but today when it's necessary. Because the world doesn't need more self-sacrifice, it needs more self-expression. Your legacy is built through repetition, not recognition. It's formed in the small, unseen moments when you keep your promises, when you push through resistance, when you choose discipline over comfort. Those decisions define character. Legacy isn't what people say about you when you're gone, it's what they feel because of how you lived. Every time you act with integrity, with passion, with courage, you're leaving an imprint that outlives you. That's why every day must be lived with intention, because consistency, not convenience, is what builds greatness. There's a moment in everyone's life when they realize time isn't guaranteed. That realization can break you or wake you. When you live like your legacy depends on today, you stop waiting for inspiration and start moving from conviction. You stop postponing love, forgiveness, creativity, and growth. You start treating your dreams as obligations, not options. Because one day, you'll run out of tomorrows, and what will matter most isn't what you had, but who you became. The psychology behind legacy is rooted in purpose. Human beings need to feel that what they do matters, that their lives create a ripple beyond themselves. When you align your actions with that sense of purpose, your energy changes. You stop living in survival mode and start operating from a place of contribution. Men and women alike find fulfillment when they're giving meaning to their moments, when their work, relationships, and goals serve something bigger than ego. That's what ignites passion that doesn't fade. Living today like your legacy depends on it requires presence. You can't make an impact while distracted, disconnected, or disengaged. You have to be fully alive emotionally, mentally, and spiritually in the moments that matter. When you look someone in the eyes and truly listen. When you show up for your vision even when no one claps. When you take responsibility for your time instead of wasting it. That's when you begin living at a higher standard. The best version of you doesn't wait for perfect conditions. They create them through decisive action. Every sunrise is an invitation to lead your life instead of drifting through it. You don't need more time. You need more intensity, more presence, more heart, because your legacy isn't something you leave behind one day. It's something you're building right now. The question isn't what the world will remember. It's how you'll choose to live today when no one's writing history yet, but you're already shaping it with every choice you make.